I am still very interested to hear about a topic I know all three of us are very passionate about.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
even if the rest of the audience, if we appreciate you watching, we really hope you continue. But if you would just
This is really
allow
about
us
us.
like 5-10 minutes to geek out about our favorite show, we'll still be here in 10 minutes when you get back. V, talk to us about Sense8.
Sense8, guys. The best show.
The best show.
I think
show.
ever.
Nomi and Needs forever.
What platform is that on again?
That is on Netflix.
That's on Netflix.
It didn't even occur to me how Netflix focused the show was before.
I did not put that together myself.
Yep. So Netflix does some good, some bad. They keep the shows that are problematic, and then they cancel the shows that are amazing. Good job, Netflix. So after, I believe, 2 full seasons, they announced that they were canceling Sense8 because there wasn't enough, there was too much of a budget. They were spending millions of dollars per episode.
It was very high budget.
Filming all over the world.
Amazing. It was brilliantly
Complex
done.
action sequences, huge cast of characters.
Amazingly beautiful scenery.
Oh, yeah. The music was amazing. The editing was amazing. It was all amazing.
So good.
So they said they were canceling because the budget was too high and because there wasn't enough fan interest. Cue all of the fans ever. I don't think I've ever seen as big of an uproar as when they announced that. And everybody...
That's because she didn't watch Arrested Development until years afterwards.
I still haven't watched Arrested
Okay, all
Development.
right.
So you might be alone on this one.
Yeah.
Strike and a miss. Internet's got my back. Save our blues. Anyway, go ahead.
So they finally caved and they're like, okay, we'll give you one full length, movie. Feature film type thing to kind of wrap up all the loose ends because they basically left it with one character being tortured to death.
Cliffhanger ending.
Not the best rated in the series, perhaps.
Really? Not even a try? We had to ask for this? But anyway, so full length feature to kind of wrap everything up. And they did a decent job. The ending did make me cry every time I've watched it. But so this kind of was an interesting thought experiment for me because they've continued with other shows that, to me at least, I have not seen nearly as much of being a fan favorite, of being something that was as lauded. And the fact that this was a show that was canceled, for me, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's also the only show I think I've ever seen with such a huge cast where only one of the main characters of, 8? Yeah, 8.
Yes, that's the name. Yeah.
Was a cis, straight, white male character. And by the end, he wasn't even technically. So just for me, I guess my question is, why did it really get canceled? And this might be entering into conspiracy theory territory, but I feel like it can't be a coincidence, especially considering the huge budget that Netflix has and the huge way that it's pushed. We don't even need to worry about ratings because we are an independent organization and that doesn't even bother us and we'll put out whatever we want. But all of a sudden, they can't support this because there are not too many fans. But then there are so many fans that they are literally forced to make a final episode.
Right.
In which they thank all of the fans all around the world. Something's not adding up here.
Well, and let's not forget the Wachowskis very famously transitioned, and they're responsible for this program.
Yeah.
And
they both wanted to continue.
Right. So there's also that relationship between the creators and the organization and how that may factor in terms of just being uncomfortable or not getting it. If the stuffy suits just don't see the value in what they're presenting. So, yeah, there are factors there.
Why does everyone like Nomi so much? Nomi, I swear. such the biggest crush.
She's amazing.
Everyone in that show, though, actually, to be honest.
As a lover of this show, I have to step in and say that as somebody who follows TV news and pop culture and the film industry in this sort of very amateurish but neurotic way, Netflix does not release any of its user data, and that's been a huge annoyance for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. It's a great conversation to have someday, but we don't actually know that their viewership was good. I mean, there are plenty of shows that have had hugely active fan campaigns that we do have Nielsen numbers from, and we know that they weren't that incredibly successful. I mean, Chuck was a show that had a huge fan-saving campaign. We already mentioned Arrested Development. There are a number of these shows we actually do have numbers on, and I think that while we can feel passionate about a show and be interested in signing a Save It petition or these kinds of things, I don't think that network executives are looking at that because they do have access to the numbers. And knowing the incredible size of that budget, knowing that it was not the type of show that was getting a lot of podcasts, was getting a lot of memes, that was, most folks weren't. I didn't know anybody who was watching it until it was like wrapping up or over.
Right.
Even as I, was like drunkenly watching it for a fifth time. Just loving it, feeling represented in a way I maybe hadn't before. I don't know that there is any meaningful evidence, and I know I've read the controversies, I've heard the conspiracy theories, but I don't know that there is anything to suggest that this was anything more than a financial decision from a company that, despite having an incredible amount of success, is now really starting to feel the pressure and losing market share and losing viewership.
I mean, that's definitely fair. We don't know the numbers, and even though their whole thing is we don't need to worry about numbers. It's true, we don't know. But even that kind of raises the same question. TV show that was, so cinematic and so well done, and clearly had at least a very avid small following. Is there a reason that there were no podcasts done? Is there a reason that it was not getting the kind of representation that maybe other shows were?
And so, do I think that, homophobia, transphobia, etc., were involved in the canning of the show? Yes. But do I think there was any sort of decisions made for those reasons or along those lines or through malice in such a way? No, I don't. I think that it's simply the fact that this was such a niche show, that was so perfect for its audience, but that audience was not broad.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point because that audience wasn't broad in the sense that, or it wasn't narrow in the sense that this show can only appeal to trans folks, for instance, or polyamorous folks, or people who like late night sci-fi, or these different things. This is a type of show that my mother would have really enjoyed if she could have gotten out of her own way and gotten past like the second episode.
Right.
And because that's literally what happened. So do I think that transphobia had an effect on canceling the series? I think so, in the sense that my mom stopped watching it, and Netflix did not get that number from her. There weren't enough clicks from her and all of her friends and all the people like her to continue the show going.
Yeah, they started out marketing it really nice. They had some steamy, front page Netflix ads and stuff. But then, people start to try to get into it, and they hit a wall. And that talks about our culture, not about Netflix.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the broader point. Is I've had friends who watched the first 2 episodes or however many, and then was like, oh wait. Maybe not. Now I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Then they stop.
It's, you have to be okay with,
Basically
explicit homosexuality, explicit trans people, explicit orgies and sex positivity, and plus also be interested in, the sci-fi sort of spiritual sort of kind of out there sort of plot line that doesn't give you a lot of answers for a long time. In order to get into the show. It's kind of a big ask.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so as we have talked through and around this, I think we're all in agreement that great show, you should watch it.
You should watch. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, and I
Get
guess
your very conservative parents and sit them down for movie night and then surprise them.
or at least borrow their account and try and get those numbers up. But on the question of, is there any evidence to suggest that transphobia was a factor in its cancellation, where do we rule? What's the judgment?
Oh, no evidence. But I'm still mad.
Still got your conspiracies.
Not in any direct way, no.
Yeah, so I think we're in agreement that, yes, that is why it got canceled, but
Right.
not in that sort of like mustache twirling,
Right, exactly.
evil corporate monocle
Hey, we'll
wielding
destroy
kind of
the
way.
queers and their show.
Yeah, yeah.
We will give them everything and then take it away.